Hey everybody, Tina here. Wanted to continue talking about nervous system and emotional regulation. Today's topic is triggers. I am inspired to go over this because I think a lot of us think that we are not able to heal from triggers, and that is just simply not true. 95% of what is in the DSM is solvable from nervous system regulation. What I mean by that is that some of the things that happen to us in life create a place in our brain where when we see something similar, the same fear reactions come up. Now, this is your brain operating correctly. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Ever since we were a child, and we discovered different things, we touched different things, we fell down, we hit our head, our brain said, ow, that hurts. And so forever and ever after that, our brains, when seeing something that is a potential danger or that can harm us, will alert us to those things, bringing up sometimes fear responses. And we're talking about the rapid heartbeat, foggy brain, can't think. We're just startled, you know. And some of the things that we're startled by were placed there in our reptilian brain that may or may not be conducive to what we're trying to survive today. For example, this is a very simple example. This is not diminishing any type of triggers because believe me, I've had to heal from quite a few. And gosh, the hypervigilance I've gone through and recovered from is amazing. But that is another video for another time. Hypervigilance is definitely something where it'll bring up triggers for different internal fears. But right now we're going to focus on external fears and being triggered by things that we're seeing. So for example, let's just say you were in third grade and out of nowhere, Sandy from down the row picked up a lead pencil and stabbed you with it. So that's a pretty startling and scary thing to go through. And then all of a sudden we realize 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, every time we see someone come near a pencil and it's near us and it's sharpened, we immediately get nervous, back away. Maybe there are some fear that comes into our brains. So what I want to get to the point of is rationalizing and logically thinking. Now, when you're triggered, there is no rationality. So let's just get that out of the way. And I don't want anybody in here beating themselves up over, well, I was triggered, so XYZ happened. I want you to understand that when you're triggered, your rational brain turns off. There is no accessing it until we have decompressed, until we have come down from the trigger, until our logical brain turns back on. There's not going to be any type of rationalization, both internally and people telling us or us speaking it out loud, that's going to work. So we have to understand that first and foremost, let's give ourselves some grace. Okay. You're not on this channel because you had a peachy keen life. You're on this channel because you went through some things. But what I want to get to is a place where we can start to recognize the trigger, name the trigger, and start naming the emotions that come up afterwards. Start realizing and becoming conscious of what's going on. Because it is absolutely imperative to recovering. So one of the first things that we have to get to a place of is recognizing that the trigger has even happened. Now, with something like a pencil, that's really easy. We can see it, we can smell it, there's people near us, we know what the trigger is from. So that's a really easy one to start recovering from, to start saying, okay, I'm 37, Sandy's nowhere to be found, and most likely these people are not going to pick up this pencil and stab me with it. So I'm going to sit with this pencil, I'm going to sit with people walking around it, and I'm going to realize slowly but surely and over time, it's not going to happen the first time you're consciously aware of the trigger. You're going to have to work through it over and over. But if you're willing to put in the work, it is worth it. I do recommend it because 95% of the time we're worrying about things that are not going to happen. And I, in my own life, am facing that right now with something a little bit more of a trigger than a pencil. But so I am reminding myself daily, okay, that's not reality. That's not going on. We don't have all the information. So let's not react as if that's what's happening because there's a lot of factors. But with the pencil example, it's very easy to start recognizing, okay, this is what triggered me. Um, so most of us are dealing with external and internal triggers that are more metaphorical, more emotional, and more off of the behavior of others. A facial expression, a glance, a sigh. Um, so that's going to go along with the same. We're gonna recognize the trigger. Okay, maybe our best friend Bethany sighs a lot. She's tired. But it brings up things from our childhood when maybe, you were around a parent that every time they got exasperated, they sighed. It may or may not have had anything to do with us, but little people, when they're around people that are sighing or showing external signs of being upset or impatient, we can carry that through our adulthood. And, we have to be able to go ahead and sit with the person that is sighing. I'm not saying put yourself in the situation where you're around someone that's triggering you all the time, especially after you've discussed it with them. But if you are with someone or you're around people a lot that you've said, hey, these are the things that bother me, I would really, really like it if maybe you could be conscious of that and maybe back off of some of those behaviors. But then there's a part where we need to start saying, okay, let's be honest, people are going to sigh. Pencils are going to be left all over the place. I need to start rationalizing and start consciously becoming aware of the trigger is going to set off these set of behaviors. I'm not going to fight this set of behaviors, but I am going to separate myself from what's going on so that I can calm down and so that my rational brain can turn back on. Um, and so sometimes taking a walk for 10 minutes, walking out to your car, walking into a different room, creating that space and walking away so that in between the trigger and the reaction, now we have a conscious response, and you're basically saying, hold on, I'll be right back. You're not saying, oh my gosh, Bethany, that's the 50th time that you sighed today. And, if there's something wrong, then you just need to say it out loud. Maybe Bethany is just having a hard time, hard day, and it doesn't have anything to do with you. Now, if it does, that opens up the dialogue for Bethany to explain. And then you can talk to her about, listen, I'm not a mind reader, so if you're upset, please explain it in words so that I know what's going on instead of showing me these different ways that you're upset instead of voicing what's going on. Let's use our words, right? But let's say Bethany just goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about it. It just kind of happens sometimes. It's a stress relief for me, breathing heavily. And I forgot that you mentioned that was kind of a trigger for you. I'm going to work on that when I'm around you. I'm going to work on that period, whatever. I don't want people to externally think that I'm being upset. So, number one, recognizing that you're triggered at first when you've been running on autopilot all these years is kind of tricky. There are definitely times in my life where all of a sudden I don't really express my panic attacks externally anymore. I'm internal all the way. Like my heart will start beating, and then I'm like, I have to excuse myself. I have to move away from the situation, and I will have no idea where the trigger came from. So that's where we need to start investigating. We need to start going internal, and we need to start talking to ourselves internally and just saying like, okay, what is it that could have upset me? And then what from there, what upset, if you're able to identify, say, okay, why is this such a big deal to me? What has happened in my past that has caused my brain to alert me when that happens? And you'll have about 2 or 3 memories pop up. And in that time, when those memories pop up, it's important to realize not only are these things sedimentary in your core memories, you're also going to realize that these moments, those 1, 2, 3 moments during your lifetime, have not only angered you, but they have also set in motion grief. Sometimes we're triggered because we're still holding in grief from these moments that happened to us, whether they were scary, painful, unfair. So we're going to have to realize that if we're stuffing grief down inside of us, it's going to come out in ways that we're triggered. It's going to look irrational to the people around us. So that's why loving yourself enough to dig deep, figure out where it's coming from, and then deal with the grief that those moments in particular set in motion. So, what that means is that once you identify the core memories of what caused the triggers in the first place, setting aside some time for yourself to think about it, to grieve it, to really get real with, okay, that actually hurt me a lot. And I've been carrying that for all these years, and I really need to grieve this properly. And that is going to look different for everybody. I hope that these videos are helping somebody out there. That would really be my biggest hope, because I didn't know this information until 2021. I was about 37, 38 years old. And I had gone on autopilot my entire life, and I didn't realize that I was suffering and grieving from things that were deeply rooted, not only in childhood, but, but from a tumultuous adult relationship that really sucked the life out of me, sucked my soul out of me. And when I did find the information, I was able to lock in on a lot of the different subjects. And there's a lot of help out there for people that maybe can't afford therapy, or they want to heal, they want to go forward, they think it's possible, which it is. And there's a lot of free therapy online for people who don't really benefit from talk therapy. They don't want to relive it. They don't want to talk to a stranger about it. This is a category that I would fall into. So if you have the time to just put in on YouTube, like, this is the symptoms, this is what I'm going through, and just kind of going through the videos online and finding a person or a couple of different channels that help you, it would really behoove you to do these things, because healing is possible. It's more than possible. The fact that my brain was able to lock in on any of this slowly over time, one piece at a time, one little puzzle piece at a time, if I can do it, you can do it. Now that I look back on who I was in the past, though I give that person grace, I can definitely see why externally people were like, that girl has some issues. And I did. I had some issues. And it is frustrating because you can feel very lonely, but you are not alone. Most of the people in this world are traumatized, and they are either brushing it under the rug, saying, this is just how I am, you have to deal with it, and that is extremely unhealthy. We've got to come out of those places. So let's get some dialogue going on in the comments. Reach out to me. I'd love to interact back and forth, and have a great day. Remember to smile. You're important.